Hi there, my name is Vicky Vasquez, and I would like to talk to you today about lost sharks. So, lost sharks are a term coined by my professor, Dr. Dave Ebert at the Pacific Shark Research Center. And basically what this is about is trying to bring focus to lesser known species of sharks and their relatives, part of the larger group of chondrichthyans. And this is really an issue because with the amount of research that is currently being done and the amount of focus that is currently being done by the public, we tend to focus a lot more on sharks that are near our coastal areas, and especially white sharks. And it's kind of becoming a big issue. But I should confess, before I start talking too badly about white sharks, I'm definitely a huge fan of white sharks ever since I was small. And so you can see that some things that are consistent from when I was young are not only my interest in fishing, but also, I brought my own little laser pointer. See it? Maybe not. Anyway, same haircut. But one thing that's really interesting is you can see from these pictures, I've always loved the ocean, but you don't always have the picture of the exact moment that you became extremely into sharks. So here it is. As you can see, another picture that is not actually of a shark. So what you're seeing here is me looking very unhappy. Very unhappy because a white shark had just eaten my tuna. But more so, the reason that I'm making the face that you see here in this photo is because when I saw that shark come over, I want you guys to picture like Pac-Man, very lazily coming over and getting one of those white spheres, so not very dramatic, not really what you think about when you're watching something on TV, and yet that head is still breathing. And that's why I'm making that face. That is what made me interested in sharks. I realized that sharks are not an animal that are trying to be scary. They are just really good at their jobs. They are very efficient predators. And so as I was telling this story to my professor, he was like, okay, that's great, but I'm like, why does it have to be white sharks? And I was like, go on. And so he started telling me about lost sharks, and I wanted to look more into that. And so I'm going to warn you now that if you try on your own to look up the word lost sharks, I am not talking about from that old show, Lost, and I'm also not talking about shows on sci-fi. What I'm talking about, again, is this issue of these more charismatic shark species that essentially are outshining lesser-known shark species. And the reason that this is important and an issue is because a lot of these lesser-known species are suffering much more serious conservation issues. And the other thing is that think about when we talk about sharks as a group. You probably wouldn't talk about mammals in the same way. You don't mix up all mammals and say they're apex predators and they're really scary, because mammals also include mice or hamsters, which aren't that scary. Depending if you've been bitten. This is more specifically what we're talking about when we're talking about lost sharks. And, oh good, laser pointer's working. Because you can see on the picture to the left, okay, laser pointer's off. Oh, here we go, this one. Who can tell me what that is? Hammerhead, right? So like maybe not the best example of a shark that you've never seen before. The one on the right, I thought it'd be really fun to have shark rules. It's not fun. So over here on this side, you can see that this is a true example of a lost shark. This is a new species of chondrichthyan, of a chimera, part of the larger chondrichthyan group. And so that is the other cool thing about lost sharks. We have about 550 true species of sharks, and we are discovering new ones every year. So my lab, the Pacific Shark Research Center, this is what they are all about. We are constantly discovering new species, and it doesn't have to just be the true sharks. Again, as I was saying before, there's a bigger group out there, and scientists are doing a really good job of trying to engage the public with them. So what my work at the Pacific Shark Research Center is a combination. How do we study these animals, and how do we get people to care about what we're doing? So this to you could also be a torpedo ray or a flat shark. Ooh, doesn't that sound better? Or a pancake shark. These over here, this brown chimera can also be called a ghost shark. Here we have a soft shark species that was also recently discovered. This is a skate, so it's like a stingray, but a little bit different, so a lot more barbs all over its body. And also a dusky snout couch shark. Now, my lab, with all this work, has described about 15% of all new chondrichthyan species within the last decade. And what you're looking at here is a very interesting combination of not all these species from all over the world. As you can see, like Taiwan, the brown chimera came from New Zealand, the Lana saw shark came from the Philippines. But the other thing I want you to notice are the names that you see. So some of the times when we name these species, we name them based on their location, based on what they look like, and if you're super lucky and nice to your children, like the Chimera caraphila, they might name it after you. So that researcher, her parents are named Carol and Phil. So she my professor's niece is named Lana, so she got her own saw shark. Don't worry, her brother got a shark named after him this year. So there's no rivalry, everything's fine. So here I was thinking that I could have this similar opportunity to travel the world, find a new species, and I told my professor about this, and he was like, that is great. Here's a jar. So this is very close to my home. It was a 20-minute walk to the local museum to look and discover new species. And you've seen a lot of beautiful pictures today. I do have some videos, but they're not going to be as fun. It kind of looks more like that. So this is what happens when you're discovering some of these and learning about these deep sea species. It's hard for us to get that visceral reaction when you see something swimming in the water for the first time that gives you that gut reaction that you want to learn and love more about it. And so you can see here I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get people to care about this thing, and how am I going to even find out if that's like a new species or not, because it looks really weird. This is what it looked like when it was fresh off of being caught. And so what I can still do is use some of the key features that you see and figure out that I was looking at some sort of animal in the dogfish group, which still has about 130 species, so not that easy. And then moving on, looking at a lot of different smaller species, key characteristics, I was able to figure out that this animal, whether or not it was new, was at least some sort of lantern shark. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with lantern sharks, but these things are freaking cool, let me tell you. So lantern sharks are not giant like we think of with some of the more species that we might commonly see on TV. These are some of the smallest species in the entire world. And if that wasn't neat enough, they glow in the dark. So I was really excited that what I might have on my hands is a new species, a lantern shark. But again, keep in mind my challenge of trying to figure out how are we going to engage the public with this new species when this is all I have. Just those pictures and 8 specimens in the entire world. So I don't have any video of them swimming. And so I was trying to figure out how do I get people interested, and I decided
I know one laser-eyed shark.
Oh, you know what? We could play with that. You know how there's that whole Sharks with Lasers? Do you guys see that Austin Powers movie?
No.
Did anybody see the movie The Dark Knight?
No.
And then what was the other one? The Dark Crystal. Oh, you know, I think The Dark Crystal is a movie. You guys ever see it?
Yep.
No. Guys, you may not have seen the movie, but have you guys heard of the movie Jaws?
Yeah. We love that.
Angelina has the original book signed by Peter Benchley when she was a baby.
No way! You did?
Angelina was only a couple months old, so Kevin went down to meet him, and he got an autographed copy for her.
The other thing we need to come up with is the common name. So, I mean, that could be kind of funny, but the only thing is, do you think people in 10 years will remember the left shark in the Super Bowl? Probably not. So, B-Girl sticks.
The crystal lantern shark. So what about the emerald-eyed lantern shark? Emerald-eyed. The super ninja lantern shark.
The ninja lantern shark. Okay, that's one, yeah?
Yes.
I like it too.
So this is how I thought it would be a good tool. If I can't engage everybody, at least I can get my little cousins interested. And so they're the ones that helped come up with the name. The common name is, you just heard, the ninja lantern shark. I'm going to move a little bit faster for time. But we also named the scientific name after Peter Benchley, because many people might be aware of the movie that he was a part of that sensationalized some of the scary parts of sharks. But not everybody is as aware of the conservation work that he has done and dedicated the rest of his life to, and even continues through honoring other people that do great things in the oceans, hence the Benchley Awards. And so we felt like we had a perfect combination of that fascination with Jaws, but doing it for the little guy. So the other opportunity that this led to, and I'm just going to show you a couple of pictures, is my lab has been on Shark Week a couple different times, and I had the chance to be part of this year's Shark Week episode, which was like one of the coolest things I've ever done. And this was a chance to look at more of these lost sharks. Now, we call them lost sharks. Discovery Channel called them alien sharks. This is a picture of a frill shark out in Tokyo Bay. This was one of the highlights of the trip, the goal of the trip, to tag for the very first time a goblin shark, and we were able to actually tag 2 of these and get a nice but short amount of data. We were also, this trip was amazing because I had a chance to catch a shark like this, a Japanese cat shark, which was named by Dr. Nikaya, who is off to the right here, and my professor is in the middle. I also get a chance to see this one. This is a salamander cat shark. Now, I was excited with every single shark I saw. And it was really weird when suddenly I saw that guy get excited. So he told me that there are 5 scientists who have ever seen this shark in the world, and 4 of them were on the boat. So that was a very special experience. And I also wanted to show you this little guy. A new possible lantern shark, might be purple, so thinking of some names that might work with that. And just very quickly, how you can help. Again, lost sharks aren't always as easily accessible to the public as other species, and so outreach is a really great tool. These sharks all exist. Here's what they really look like. And for time, I'm going to move over these videos that are extremely bad shark puns, but you can find them on my social media. And again, the idea is it's just a way to try to engage people in these animals that aren't as easy to find in the ocean. And the last thing that I wanted to plug, which I always do, is whenever you can, avoid your single-use plastics. They are getting into the oceans. I also work in San Francisco Bay. Here is a leopard shark caught with a plastic around its neck from the 1950s. And here it is again in 2010. And so you can see it doesn't really matter where you are in the world, you can always do your part to protect sharks. So thank you.